I want to talk a little bit about medical malpractice cases now. There are so many instances of medical malpractice, and a recent Harvard study has shown that of all of the cases of medical malpractice, maybe 1 or 2% of them are ever litigated. They're very difficult cases. Of those 1 or 2% that are brought, the doctors still win something like 80% of the time. They're very difficult cases to bring, and they're very expensive cases to bring. So let's talk briefly about what the standards are associated with a medical malpractice case. It's different than a car crash. To prove a medical malpractice case, you have to hire similarly situated professionals to come in and testify about the conduct of the first doctor. So we'll use orthopedists as an example. You say that your doctor said he could perform a knee surgery and it was going to be a piece of cake, and instead he did something and you're now crippled. That's a serious injury, obviously. First question is it reparable? Can a subsequent surgery fix that which the first doctor did? If the answer to that is no, and you're left with a life-altering permanent injury, you may have a cost-effective claim that should be brought. With medical malpractice cases, you actually have to try and think about, okay, yes, you have a claim, but is it a cost-effective claim to bring? The reason for that is, since you have to hire other doctors to testify about your doctor's conduct, it's unbelievably expensive, typically as little as $50,000 and as much as $100,000 in costs. It's got nothing to do with fees, just to hire the doctors to come to court and testify on your behalf. And those doctors, the ones you hire as your experts to talk about the doctor who treated you and malpracticed on you, have to talk first about the community standard of care. So in Portland, we're the 26th largest city in America, which means there's a national standard of care. Therefore, one would expect the highest level of care. You might have a different situation if you were in Baker City or Burns, but if you're in Portland and you feel you have a malpractice claim, the standard of care is, did that doctor who treated you meet the standard of care which practitioners, which doctors follow in Portland's metropolitan area? If the answer to that is no, then the next question basically is one of medical negligence. Did the doctor do something the doctor should not have done, or fail to do something the doctor should have done? If the answer is yes, the doctor was negligent, then we turn again to causation. What, if any, injury was caused you as a consequence of the doctor falling below the standard of care and committing malpractice? And once you've determined what injury was caused you, then and only then does it finally get to a jury to assess what are the damages that would make for fair compensation for the harms that the doctor who caused these problems for you has created. So you never get to a jury to assess damages unless you have doctors come and say that your doctor fell below the community standard of care, was negligent, and caused injury. There are many, many instances where people will call me and tell me something that is really frightening and shouldn't have happened, clearly. And now, mind you, I'm not a doctor. I'm a lawyer who's been doing this kind of work for 30 years. I need to hire doctors to tell me about the standard of care. I need doctors to tell me about medical negligence. But certain times, you know, you get the sense immediately, this shouldn't have happened. But what results is perhaps somebody does, in a subsequent procedure within a month of the bad situation, does something to fix it. So you have a 1-month injury, really. In such a situation, you don't want to spend $50,000 or $100,000 litigating a case where a jury might come back and feel like they've done well by you and given you $25,000, which is a whole lot of money. But it's not that much money. In fact, it's left you upside down if you spent $50,000 or $100,000 trying to bring that claim. As a consequence, most experienced and competent medical malpractice lawyers first will meet with you and then gather all medical records and hire a medical professional to get an initial opinion to determine the validity of the claim. Once that's done, a lawyer will make an assessment as to how to proceed. Doctors don't like to settle cases. Doctors, if they do settle a case, have to report when they seek hospital privileges every 2 years that they have paid money in a settlement of such things. This is different than a car accident situation. So, medical malpractice cases are very serious, but for all of the reasons I've just talked to, which specifically are the cost of bringing such a claim. And mind you, I want it understood that the cost, this $50,000 to $100,000, has nothing to do with lawyer fees. The lawyer only gets paid a percentage of the recovery if there is a successful recovery. So to spend that kind of money pursuing a claim, you have to have very serious injuries to justify that cost.